Здравствуйте, капитан. Я только что захожу в враждебную квартиру. Руки с нас! Руки наверх! Покажитесь, наркоманы! Где вы? Руки наверх! Руки сзади, голос! Сейчас же! Сейчас же!
What are you saying?
Где твои наркотики? Ты арестован за наркотики! Где ты, сука? А? Где они?
What you just witnessed is an exaggeration of the racial bias and the issues stemming from the failure of the war on drugs plaguing the United States. Hi, I'm Eric Flores, and I'm standing on an abandoned highway. As mentioned before, the war on drugs and the prison system are incredibly flawed. The racial bias in the police force is running rampant and must be fixed. White people use drugs at the same rate that blacks do, but black people are 10 times more likely to get imprisoned. And the fact that the U.S. government has spent more than $51 billion on the war on drugs is insane. Did you know that 1 in 3 black males will be incarcerated in their lifetime, while 1 in 17 white males will be? This just goes to show the racial bias in the prison system. Statistics show that 95% of the people will plead guilty to avoid the harsh mandatory minimums that come with non-violent drug offenses. The following video will showcase the opinions that people have on this issue. All right, sir, so what's your name?
My name is Tim.
All right, Tim. All right. So first question, do you think there's racial bias in the police force?
I'm sure to a degree there is. There's racial bias everywhere. Do I think that they're targeting? That's hard to say. I don't know. I guess in some instances they might be. You know, you work in a horrible neighborhood, a horrible area where there's bad neighborhoods, and you kind of deal with, you know, that type of people all the time. Yeah, maybe you get an attitude, and maybe sometimes you take it out, which you shouldn't, you know, on the wrong, you know, where it may seem like police brutality. It's hard. You know, there's good and bad in everywhere.
Hi, what are your guys' names?
I'm Emily.
And I'm Anna.
All right. So first question, do you think there's racial bias in the police force?
Definitely. You can't argue that there isn't when there are more people of color being arrested and prosecuted than there are white people.
Yeah, I'd say definitely. I'm probably just repeat what you said, but yeah.
Yeah, I do actually think there's a racial bias. Because like, I mean, I have some friends and like, you know, they go to prison and like, most of the time they're not white. It's like, why does that happen? They're good guys, you know?
I think there's definitely a racial bias in terms of minorities getting more.
Do you think there's a racial bias in the police force?
I do. Yep. I think that people are conditioned to see different races as different.
What's your opinion on the war on drugs, and was it effective?
No, it's not effective. They should be legal.
I don't think that was effective at all. Like, drugs are always going to be around, and yeah, nothing really changes.
All that money should be put towards, you know, rehabilitation and, you know, education and all that stuff. And, you know, countries like Sweden and stuff like that, they don't really have the drug prison population we have. But go ahead.
No, it wasn't because, well, like, look right now. There's still tons of drugs being everywhere, you know. You can't really, like, end the war on drugs because there's, like, drugs, you know, are a valuable commodity. People want that commodity. There's always going to be a demand for it. It's just going to be more expensive.
I think it was a waste of time, and it was all just kind of propaganda that got out of hand. And people are always going to want drugs, so there's always going to be drugs. So you should just work with them instead of trying to eliminate them.
Do you think there's a problem with our prison system?
I do. I think they're like super, super crowded, and I think that people should work on like treatment and help for whatever they did to get into prison instead of just throwing them into a cell.
Yeah, it's got to be fixed.
It's
You can't just,
overcrowded.
overcrowded. You can't just throw everybody in jail,
Yeah.
you know, for everything.
Yeah, I mean, like, I remember hearing stories of just, like, prisoners getting, like, beaten and like mistreated, even for like the smallest crime, just of possession of just like pot or something. It's nothing that bad.
I think there's a problem in terms of like the weight of certain sentences, like nonviolence being there forever, and then like being violent and you're only there for like a year and getting out on probation and stuff like that.
So how do you feel about the mandatory minimums for non-violent drug offenses?
They're totally not right.
Yeah.
You know, just floods our prison system. A lot of wasted money. Go ahead.
I think that's outrageous, because 15 years, like, just being in prison.
Truly outrageous.
It's kind of ridiculous. 15 years is a long time.
I think that's crazy. I think that's way too long. And if it's like a serious drug, then the person probably has a serious problem and they should be helped instead of just sitting in jail for 15 years.
All right, so last question. How do you feel about the statistic that 1 in 3 black males will be detained in their life and 1 in 17 white males will be detained?
I think it's probably accurate. You know, that comes with the whole, what was I going to say? That comes with the whole, you know, there's no jobs in this country.
Yeah.
If we'd have jobs that, you know, to educate these black men, you know what I mean, and get them working, you would not have the problems you have today. They'd be home, they'd be working, they'd come home at night, be a good influence on their kids, and, you know.
Yeah, more programs in inner cities to help out the youth.
Help them out. You know, just being a father figure coming home is gigantic to keeping, you know, younger guys off the streets, and, you know, it's good influence on them, you know.
I feel like that's horrible.
I feel like it's definitely
that's
proof.
not fair, and it's
Just like I said in the first question, that's like, why does that happen? That's like, doesn't make sense. And like, they're a minority too, so if there's a majority in that, there's something wrong.
It's just the racial bias in the police force, as was stated earlier.
I think it's a serious problem that should have been dealt with a long time ago, and it's sad that that's still happening in this day and age.
Do it.